Hi, this is Keely Coachman, and I am the Indian Valley High School counselor. This is the College Credit Plus information session for individuals who are choosing to watch this virtually rather than attend a live information session. Maybe you weren't able to make it, or you just need to review. This should give you the information that you need. We're going to be doing this in two sections because it can be rather lengthy to watch it in one sitting. So first we're going to go over what is College Credit Plus. College Credit Plus is Ohio's dual enrollment program. For a dual enrollment program, college and high school credit can be earned at the same time. So perhaps they're taking a math class for high school credit. They could also take that math class for college credit at literally the same time. There's little or no cost to the family under CCP or College Credit Plus. CCP does allow a student to challenge themselves and explore topics in greater depth. And something that Indian Valley really pride ourselves on is we like to allow students to explore their individual career paths. And that's something that CCP allows students to do. So the 4 items that will be explored in the 2 CCP videos are the parameters of CCP, second, the steps to apply for CCP, the courses and pathways, and some other considerations that a family should be aware of as they think about CCP. So in the first video, we'll just do these first 2 parameters and steps for CCP. Okay, so who is eligible to participate in CCP? First off, you need to be an Ohio resident in grades 7 through 12. And importantly, that student needs to be determined college ready. And typically that's going to be by an institution of higher education. So colleges that offer CCP. First off, it's going to be any Ohio public university. And if it's an Ohio public university, that will come at no cost to the family. And there's an asterisk there. We will get to that at a later slide. There are participating Ohio private universities. Since CCP has been around for a few years now, most of them do participate. Something that you should be aware of as a family, if you decide that participating at a private university is right for your son or daughter, you may want to ask specifically if there are going to be any costs that are going to be accrued as the student is participating at that private university, because you would want to be handed a bill at the end, because that would be a cost that would be for the family, not the school. So where and how are CCP courses held? A CCP course might be held at a high school, and Indian Valley does have CCP courses held right here on our campus. We're proud to do that. We have instructors that are trained specifically for CCP. A student might take it on a college campus, or they could do online. All of our courses here are live and taught by instructors who are working as adjunct professors. At Indian Valley, and I'll speak a little bit more to that, the student can do 12 credits of English, 7 credits of math, plus an AP calculus. In social studies area, there are 9 credits that can be earned. In the area of science, there are 4 credits. And then in technology, just to mention, a student can take an additional 2 AP courses. Some other items to be aware of. Students can take both high school and CCP courses. In fact, most students do kind of dip their toe in the water at first rather than going with all CCP courses. That can be a little much. So a student who's just not sure about it might take one CCP course and then stay with the rest with high school courses, and that's totally fine. Something else to be aware of, a CCP course is weighted the same as other advanced courses like an honors or an AP course. Grades that are earned will appear on both the high school and the college transcript. So it's important that you know that those are going to stick around for a long time, a high school transcript and a college transcript. Might follow you a long time. A college transcript will follow you for a very long time, especially if you're going to be in college long term. Students can take up to 30 college credits in a school year and up to 120 hours total. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And high school courses will count towards that 30-hour total. So let's dig into that just a little bit. So students may be enrolled in up to the 30 credits. The average college course is 3 credits. Now, that's the average college course. We do have a course here that is 4 credits. Well, a couple college courses here that are 4 credits. I know of students who are enrolled at other universities that are taking courses that are 5 credits. So just know that college courses can range in the number of course credits, but the average is 3. And those high school courses that they're taking, and I'm talking about it just a typical high school course, are going to be included in that calculation. So they sort of pretend that their high school courses are college courses. So you're going to take the high school course times 3 and subtract it from 30. So if it's just a regular Algebra 2 class, you're going to take that times 3, and let's say that's the only course that they took. So it would be 30 minus 3, and you're left with 27 credits for the year. If a student would happen to enroll in more than 30 credits for the year, they could drop the course as long as it's prior to the no-fault deadline, which is a couple weeks into the course beginning. Then they won't owe anything. There's no problem. However, if they go over the 30 hours and it's too late to drop that course, then they'll have to pay for that at the standard rate. Now, if a student chooses to do that and they know ahead of time, that needs to be communicated, and then we'll go forward that way. Okay, so there are 4 steps to applying for CCP. The first one is definitely the simplest, and that is the letter of intent. I always joke with the students that a letter of intent is not a letter that you sit down and write to me. It is simply a form, and that form can be picked up here in our office. The big thing with that is that it needs to be signed by the parent or guardian and the student. It has some information on it about like contact and that kind of thing, but it has to be turned in by April 1st. That is by Ohio statute. April 1st is an important deadline. On the letter of intent, the student is acknowledging the rules on campus, that they will follow those rules, and understand that Indian Valley has no way of changing or affecting any rules that would happen to be on someone else's campus. So the student needs to behave according to the rules of the other campus. They're also, by signing that letter of intent, confirming that they've received CCP counseling. So this would be an example of CCP counseling, the fact that you are watching this informational video. A couple other documents that are required by Indian Valley would be the IV textbook policy. We just want to make sure that people have an understanding of how to obtain their books, and we'll talk about that on the second video. And a mature content permission form, which will also be discussed in a later slide. Now, I put this warning on here because I want everybody to understand that, importantly, April 1st is stressed. It is an absolute deadline. April 1st is a big deal. I make it a big deal because I think that students who are going into CCP should show some degree of responsibility just getting into it. But something that everyone should be aware of is that April 1st is our first day to return from spring break, and that makes it even stickier than usual. So I'm going to make a really, really big recommendation here that people have the letter of intent turned in before going on spring break. Please, please stress that your son or daughter turn in that letter of intent prior to going on spring break. That'll be in March, because trying to remember that it needs to be turned in on that Monday that we return is going to be difficult. And one final thing, turning in the letter of intent and deciding not to participate is not a big deal. The letter will just stay in my file and be forgotten about. But neglecting to turn it in is a different thing. If you don't turn it in and I don't have one, then we have some other hoops to jump through. So I would turn it in if there's even a mild chance that you're going to participate. Step 2, student needs to indicate that he is college ready. So showing that he is college ready, it's going to be shown in a couple of different ways. First, it can be done with a remediation-free score on an assessment. So for an ACT, just for an example, earn one of these 3 scores. And on ACT, it would be an English score of 18 or a math or reading score of 22. And I can't use a practice on that. It would have to be an actual ACT. A university with which you are going to participate. Let's say you're going to be with Stark State here at Indian Valley. Stark State can test you, and you wouldn't have to pay for that. Or an unweighted GPA of 3.0. Now, that just allows you to participate. It does not mean that you can get into any classes. So having the unweighted GPA of 3.0 is not going to allow you to get into any classes. It's a little bit tricky. That's why I so recommend having a test score to work with. Even more, I recommend having an ACT simply because the placement test with Accuplacer or something like that is only going to be useful for CCP that one time at that one school. If you have an ACT that you can work with, you're going to be able to build upon that with subsequent tests. It's going to be able to be used for scholarships and things like that. And it is just overall more useful. Please know, and you can talk to one of your child about this, I am going to be offering ACT testing on March 12th. So that can be, you can sign up for that if you are in grade 9 or 10, and 11th graders are going to be taking it free on that same day. If you're 9th or 10th grade, it's going to be $44. Okay, to continue with this, some notes about being college ready. It is definitely more than being just academically ready. I know that we have a lot of smart kids. However, I often use myself as an example because I'm pretty safe doing that. I know what my scores were when I was in high school. I know that I would have qualified, but I'm not sure that I was actually emotionally and mentally ready because I was very social and I was involved in extracurricular activities. And I'm not sure that I would have had, the perseverance and frankly, the commitment. I don't know that I would have committed myself to buckling down and doing the work when I was that age. And it frankly may have turned out very badly for me. So you need to really soul search a little bit with your child about how much time is really going to be involved. There is a definite emotional and social difference in high school work as compared to college work. Just like it is different to get an A in 5th grade, it is much different to get an A in 8th grade, and it is much different to get an A in 12th grade. Likewise, it is much different to get an A in college. So making that jump is different. So just know that there is a different set of expectations. There's also going to be a lot different time management and organizational skills. Students who are in college, a lot of times will be have a lot more time on their hands. That doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to be mature enough to use that time wisely. Oftentimes they will want to sit down and hang out with their friends. Some sample performances, I often share these with students. as examples of would you be prepared to do this at a moment's notice. Writing a 3 to 5 page research paper may not be a huge stretch for some, but would you be prepared to do this when a teacher is not sitting and doing it with you the whole way through? On this one, on the left, successfully completing a problem or assignment that requires 2 weeks of independent work and extensive research. Independent work is something that I see as a big difference between college and high school. High school kids can be a lot more dependent upon each other and upon teachers. College kids do a lot more independently. Also, there's an expectation that you will get feedback, but it's not always nice feedback. And so you got to be prepared for that too. There's also creating and maintaining a personal schedule that includes a to-do list with prioritized tasks and appointments. That might be an area of growth. And please know that if it's decided that, hey, maybe this isn't for me right now, I have some areas of growth, CCP is not going away. Perhaps wait a year, work on some of these skills, and come back. The third step is applying to the university. It is ultimately the responsibility of the student to apply to the university and obtain all the materials for admission. That said, Mrs. Stark and I work with the students to help them as much as we can. I put on here some of the application deadlines. You can't see because my face is on there, but Kent and University of Akron. So University of Akron has traditionally been April 15th for their CCP students. In Kent, I believe they moved theirs to June 1. Stark State is May 1. And again, any questions with those, we're happy to help. But it is ultimately the responsibility of the student. Fourth, is scheduling courses. We help quite a bit with this, and ultimately the college advisor also helps. But some notes on this. I want to make sure that people are aware that you're typically going to get through general education courses. It's not going to necessarily be the case that a student is going to have the opportunity to get through an entire college major or something like that during CCP. There are some reasons that you need to understand that. So course choices will first depend on state guidelines. Not every course is going to be eligible for CCP. Second, is the student eligible for these courses that they want to take? I will often have a student say, well, I want to go full-time at such and such university. Okay, but they might need to boost some test scores because they may not meet the eligibility standards set by that university. And third, prerequisites. Has the student taken the courses that are required as a condition for taking that course? The analogy I often use with students is you have to take Spanish 1 before you can take Spanish 2. That seems really obvious, but they're not all obvious like that. So one that is not as obvious, but we use all the time here, you have to have a certain grade in composition before you can take American literature. That is set by Stark State. And so it's things like that that you might lean on us for. So another thing to be aware of is that every CCP student, regardless of where they're participating, whether it's with Stark State here at Indian Valley or another university out there, the first 15 credit hours have to be taken in what are called level 1 courses. And level 1 courses are courses that are very transferable. We often call them general education courses. And when you go to college, pretty much everybody's going to have to take something off that list. So some other examples, courses in IT, computer science, anatomy and physiology, foreign language. These are going to be your typical English courses and math courses, things of that nature. Some other examples, courses that are part of a dedicated technical certificate program. I've heard of people taking EMT courses. I talked to some students about taking water and wastewater licensing certificate through Hawking. So the possibilities are truly endless. Courses that are part of a 15 or 30 credit hour pathway. I'll show you an example of that. And courses in study skills, academic, or career success. Now, after those first 15 credits, the student can move forward to any allowable level 2 course. Now, the level 2 courses kind of open up the world. So as long as they're meeting prerequisites and eligibility criteria, students can typically start exploring sort of careers and things like that. So non-allowable courses by CCP, they will not be covered, are things like applied courses with one-on-one instruction. So you couldn't take piano lessons, courses that have extraordinarily high fees. $750 is the fee threshold set by the state. You could not do a study abroad course. So the state would not pay for you to study in Sweden, for instance. Bummer, but it's true. Physical education courses. Pass, fail, or satisfactory, unsatisfactory graded courses. Now, there is an exception to that. So if the student is taking an internship or another transferable course, as long as the same grade scale exists for everybody that's taking that course, they can take that course. And finally, remedial courses or any religion courses. All right. And finally, step 4. Step 4, regarding scheduling the courses, the student has to meet with someone like me to discuss those course choices. A big piece is meeting their high school requirements, because I always tell kids, your first job is getting out of high school. It's really cool to think about those opportunities that exist, but it will all mean nothing if you don't get out of high school. So we have to make sure that we're checking all the boxes here, in addition to exploring all those cool opportunities. We need to make sure that we are staying full-time at Indian Valley, that you are, if you're an athlete, that you're staying eligible. And there are other high school related concerns. We have students who are very invested in things like our FFA program, choir, band, and then of course extracurricular activities. So those all happen at particular parts of the day, and we'd need to be really careful about when and how you schedule courses that are not here if you need to be back by those times. Okay, and we will go back